gridirons to the courts, to the links, the fast turns, and the home runs. Heard only on Source Radio Network. You're now listening to Sports Tuesday with your host, Steve Manderson.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sports Tuesday. I am your host, Steve Manderson. I hope everybody had a great day today. I hope everybody had a great week last week and a great weekend. Let me bring on a guy that knows pretty much about the NBA and college football and the NFL. Let me bring on right now and touch base with him. Haven't talked to him in a while. Let me bring on he writes, sports writer for Black Sports Magazine. Let me bring on right now Mr. Herb Delancey. Mr. Delancey, how are you, sir? How are you?
Mr. Manderson, I'm good. How are you, sir? It's been a while.
Yes, it has been a while. In fact, the last time last time being on the show, you've been on the show was sometime last year, but we did hook up at
Biggie's tournament.
Biggie's tournament. Yes. In the first hour, I talked about the Nick candidates for the Nick coaching job. Jay Wright was mentioned.
Okay.
I don't think that's a good idea. What is your opinion off the success that he has had with Villanova over the past 3 years, and we're talking 2 national championships in 3 years? Do you feel is a wise decision for him to make the jump from the college ranks to the NBA?
No.
No, I totally agree with you. Especially not with the Knick organization. You don't want to come you don't want to come into that situation. This is not a situation like what Billy Donovan, when he took over 2 years ago with the Thunder. He pretty much had a pretty talented team then. He still has Westbrook and Steve Adams, and he's got Paul George and Carmelo Anthony right now. That's a whole different situation. But Jay Wright would pretty much start from scratch. And now, the thing is, he's new to the NBA, and the Steve Mills and Scott Perry is new to him, and then the players he's got to work with, it's not going to work out, in my opinion. It won't. How do you feel about have you been following the NBA playoffs?
I have. And of course, I don't really follow the NBA much as I do like the high school and college game. But the NBA playoffs is where you separate the quote unquote the men from the boys, so to speak. So to answer your question, yes, I have been following the NBA playoffs.
Okay. And the best series so far.
Like we mentioned, the Pelicans, their series with the Trailblazers. I mean, it's just like, you got Anthony Davis. I mean, the player that he's become, Rajon Rondo, like you said earlier, when he's thinking straight, when he's not doing things crazily, then he's one of the top 10 point guards in the NBA. And kind of has been ever since he came out of Kentucky. He just needs to just focus on leading his team to victory.
That is true. Yeah. That is true. Well, we'll see what happens. If you like to hang around, my guest has finally arrived, and we can talk some Rucker basketball.
Yeah. That would be very interesting.
Sauce Nation, he is the director of the documentary Rucker 50, which talks about the history of the Ruckers League, the legendary league. And he has an organization called the National Association of Each One, Teach One. Let me bring on right now Bob McCullough. Bob, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing well. Sorry I was a little tardy. Thank you for having me on. New York is just proud to be a part of your show, and we are just really happy to in this wonderful season as you talk about NBA playoffs. Basketball is a culture, and so every aspect of it we love to have a part in. Since we've had players from the Biddy to the Pro Division to the Hall of Fame, and it's a good thing that we keep sports going. I was thinking today, if it wasn't for sports, the competition between men would be war and murder. It is one of the greatest things that we have now amongst mankind. When you think of people conquering other people and all the bloodshed that has happened just because of it, sports is something we must give homage to in a great way.
That is true. Bob, say hello to Herb Delancey, the sports writer for Black Sports Magazine.
Hi,
what's up, home? How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you? I'm doing well.
I'm doing well. All
right,
then.
My
good.
That's right. That's one of my people from around the way. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. It's a small world, huh? It's a small world.
Very much so.
Yes. Well, Bob, let me talk to you about the history of the Rucker Park. It was founded by a gentleman by the name of Holcomb Rucker. He was a school teacher back in the day. And, tell us about what he was about. He started the tournament in 1950, so this has a rich history. And as far as the man goes, what can describe Holcomb Rucker to us?
So ultimately, he was a caregiver in the largest sense. Many people accredit him with the park, but his pupils actually the ones that actually got the park named after him. He was in a couple of different parks. He's originally lived in Brooklyn, and Holcomb Rucker, though he died at the spry young age of 38 from lung cancer, he had managed to send hundreds, up to about 700 young men to black colleges and universities in what he had coined. And I think people miss the concept behind what it was. This was the first time when he started doing this, him and three of his colleagues. His colleagues were Donald Adams, Ali Edinburgh, and Pelham Fritz. These guys are the cornerstones of sports and basketball in New York City, in the sense that they raised generations of young men. But they were for New York City Parks and Rec workers. They worked in parks and recreation, and they just decided to do it. They just decided to take care of kids and to make sure that kids had a place to play. When you look up basketball, in its initiation, in its development, it was a winter sport. There was no summer basketball. It was something that people participated in only in the winter, and it was mostly indoors. So when they talked about having this, it was unheard of. They revolutionized summer basketball. Really, baseball was the only thing played in the summertime, and that was key. So we have to not only give them homage for that, but we have to give them homage for just the impact they had on youth and education. See, a lot of kids were playing in the streets, but it wasn't organized.
Right.
Kids weren't even really playing basketball as much as getting into a lot of other things. So that's who these guys were. And he was actually a teacher as well. He taught at PS 138. I'm sorry, PS 89 in 140th Street between Lenox and 7th.
Okay.
And a lot of guys followed in his footsteps. He had a family, and his wife was Mary Ruckers. She's still alive today. His daughter Ramona is deceased, but he had 2 sons. And, you know, it was really something that was wonderful to be a part of. You know, I think when we look at all the things that are going on now, a lot of summer basketball can be credited to Holcomb Rucker.
No, I totally agree there. And it seemed like each year from 1950, it kept growing and growing to the point where you have a lot of players that have now went on to the NBA, and a lot of them are Hall of Famers. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Julius Erving, Wilt Chamberlain,
Tiny Archibald,
Kobe Bryant. Okay.
Well, you got to differentiate. So here's the thing. Once Rucker died in 1965,
right,
there was no more tournament to exist. Rucker actually had leagues. He had a league with different divisions. So he had a college division, right? He had pro division. He had high school, midgets, biddies, tots, like that. And he had girls. People don't often talk about that.
I was going to ask you that. Did he have a women's division?
Yes, he did. And, you know, it's hard because a lot of the emphasis was given on the guys, but he did not leave the women out. But so in 1965, when he died, there were a couple of guys who were playing in the pro division, one of which was my father, Bob McCullough Sr. He actually was the one who he went to Benedict College in the South, in South Carolina, Columbia to be exact.
That's right.
So he actually wound up being in 1965, and you can look this up, the second leading scorer in the nation behind Rick Barry. And the year he got drafted in 1965, Holcomb Rucker passed away. So Holcomb never got a chance to see him play pro ball. It hurt him to the core. And when he found out that his peers weren't going to carry on the pro division, because you guys know how it is. Guys get out of college or high school and they feel like they have more arguments. They go through situations, you know, where you don't want to dealing with the unlimited kids today. You don't know if they might get their gun, what's they're going to get a baseball bat, what. So they didn't want to deal with that division. And it upset him and a guy named Freddie Crawford. And Freddie Crawford played in that very famous Ohio State versus St. Bonaventure #1 versus #2 game. And Fred ultimately went to the Lakers, the Bucks, the Sixers, and played for the Knicks. At the time, he was playing for the Knicks. And he said, you know what, let's do it. Let's run the pro division. And they didn't run the pro division. They began to run the first all-pro summer basketball league before the NBA, before anybody else on the planet had done it. And so they were giving tribute to him because they know what he had done for people. And then they said, we can continue. There were the Pee Wee Kirklands who was out still, younger than them who wanted to give a chance to Joe Hammonds, you know what I'm saying, the Earl Managos, the Herman Helicopters that they wanted to give an opportunity. And at the time, there were only maybe two black ball players on each NBA team.
Wow.
So
now
so it was an opportunity.
Now, as we see Ruckers today, one of the most popular tournaments
Landmarks.
in the history, it's a landmark. How do you see the direction of this league going into the future? Do you see maybe some changes, some improvements with the way the league is now and the tournaments go? Or are you happy the way it is right now, or do you feel it can improve?
Well, in order for you to get the real picture, in 1989, actually, let me give you 1987. If you look back, the NBA had a period where they didn't let their NBA players play in outside leagues. And who knows when that changed and who changed that? They call that the concrete clause, right? The concrete clause was changed in 1985, I believe, by a guy named Michael Jordan, and it was called the Jordan clause.
All right.
So ultimately, NBA players could now return to leagues. For a while, I can remember when they would play under assumed names still so that they wouldn't damage their contracts. And we had a ton of players that played in the Rucker. I mean, I can give you a whole list. Guys that played for Atlanta Hawks, Detroit Pistons, New York Knicks, that played for the Kansas City Omaha Kings, and that was the Sacramento Kings. Actually, in essence, that's the team that my father was drafted to. The Cincinnati Royals became the Kansas City Omaha Kings, which is now the Sacramento Kings. But at the time, he got drafted with Big O. It was him and Big O, so that was like Kyrie and LeBron on the same team, but it was short-lived. I'll tell you about that. But so when the tournament ended, so in 1987, there was another tournament on 139th Street and Lenox Avenue called the Entertainers Basketball Classic.
I remember that.
Entertainers Basketball Classic. Yeah. So Entertainers ran by actually Greg Marius, who used to be from the Disco 4. He had arranged a couple of different games. Actually, one of the guys that started was L.A. Sunshine, helped them. They were going back and forth about who could play ball better. They arranged the game. Greg carried it on. And so in 1987, they moved. They were looking for a place to move to. Now, you know, everybody know about Rucker Park. So it was real advantageous for them to be able to move into the world famous Rucker Playground where many of these guys had. But at the time, they had players that were playing because it wasn't just rappers. They had like Dominique Wilkins that played in an All-Star game. There's a bunch of guys. I mean, they would have crowds out there as well. And that was going along the same time that that King Towers was going on, and that was on 115th and Lenox. So there was games like this was the culture of New York. People would walk up and down to go see the different games. If it rained, we go to City College. We had All-Star games at Hunter College, which ultimately Nike Pro City took over. So the culture is all ingrained in what Holcomb Rucker did and what these pupils began to do. So when Greg moves EBC into 1987 into the park, 2 years later, the pro division of the original Rucker Pro tournament ends. Now, I'm not going to take credit for that because I didn't want to be the guy who took that on his shoulders, and the world can blame me, but I went into the film career because I felt like I wanted to have an even bigger impact. I felt like I had been around Dr. J and Tiny Archibald and these guys, and I'm not scared of anybody. Jay-Z, who? I seen some of the greatest black people. I'm cool. I was like, now I need to understand this medium that kind of kind of encapsulates our minds. And NBA is entertainment. That's a part of it. But Greg took the tournament to greater places. He had LeBron came through. He had a ton of the elite ball players come through. Shaq played. He had all these different guys coming through, and that became what people look for Ruckers. So when you hear an NBA broadcaster say, "Oh yeah, they was looking like he was in Rucker Park," it's because Joe Hammond played, and these guys, they want to play. They take pictures with him. Kobe take a picture with Joe Hammond. Kevin Durant came up to the park, scored 66 points, and then Nike wanted to make a whole shoe out of it. You know what I'm saying? So this is it's the ground, it's the hollow ground that exists, and I want to make sure that moving forward, we always keep the history. So we celebrated with #Rucker50. It's on Netflix. It's actually on sale if you want to keep it. Most people want to hold on to that as a collector's item on iTunes. #Rucker50. You can own a piece of history because we're talking about the time. See, the tournament, when Rucker died, it was 1965.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody understands that 1965 was one of the most volatile years in black history.
Yes.
It was the civil rights movement.
Right,
Many of our leaders were being killed. Malcolm X got killed.
That's right.
And I think they don't understand that our leaders were strategically being plucked away. And you look at the pictures of the people on the tops of the rooftops of the building, and you say, wow, there was 10,000 people in this park. How are these people impacted? Now, I asked my father and Fred Crawford and a group of their peers, Bobby Hunter, who was a globetrotter, does a lot of stuff around the world. And I said, when King died in 1968, what conversations did y'all have with each other? Y'all want to know what they said?
What they said?
They said we didn't have any conversations. We just acted.
Really? Wow.
Because were we to begin to talk about it, we would have gotten militant. And we needed to be proactive amongst the community. So So they said for us to become militant would have been short-lived. The impact that they've had now. So then in 1965, they started the tournament. Got some sponsorship from Mobil and Schaefer Beer, and began to, their first bit of money came from Snooki Sugar Bowl, and they got some shirts, and they did what they needed to do. These guys ultimately started getting the NBA players to come back and play. Wilt played. It's a ton of coaches and guys that you would not believe, Ty Corbin, Lenny Wilkins, the Williams brothers, Ray Williams, Gus Williams. There's a ton of guys that played. Michael Ray Richardson. There's a ton of guys. World Be Free. Who remembers World Be Free?
Oh, yes, I remember him.
I do too.
He was a legend in himself.
Yeah. That dude right there was serious. And so, it's the culture. And so in order to continue that, we have gotten to the point where we, my company is Harlem Professionals Incorporated, and we are charged with being able to manage the digital media around what's going on. Ultimately, we want to, keep Rucker in the best light, what Greg did. And unfortunately, Greg Marius passed away last year. And so his nephew, Cordell is running it. Cordell Marius is running it. And it ultimately is something that is their legacy. And, we're always open. We've always been our open arms. It hasn't always been fantastic, but I would rather Greg be here for me to fight with than him not be here. You know what I'm saying? So a large portion of our heart was taken away because, he kept that tournament relevant. He made sure that things were always top-notch, that a lot of great players come, sponsors came. We're open. We want to make sure that the legacy of what Rucker Park represents remains stellar, remains quality. In spite of the challenges that have ever happened, we still stuck by. We have Stop the Violence movement. We march with Greg. We do all that other stuff because, it's our community. So moving forward, we got a relationship now with the Players Association through Each One Teach One. So in 1967, the Each One Teach One program was born, where these NBA players now would give clinics. So they gave clinics. You had Earl the Pearl Monroe giving clinics in IS 201 on 127th Street. You had guys don't know Vaughn Harper. Before he hit the radio in New York, he was a really great college basketball player. And so you had the Knicks coming through. You had Walt Frazier coming through, Willis Reed, Howie Comas. You had Senator Bill Bradley, coming to do clinics with the kids. And many kids couldn't afford to get in the Garden. But the Rucker was the Garden in Harlem.
All right.
And that's what we want to always continue.
Okay, well, one of the final questions I want to ask both of you. What is your favorite memory? What is your best memory of the Rucker basketball tournament? I'm going to start with Mr. Delancey.
I mean, me and Bob, like I said, we go way, way back anyway. But to answer your question, Steve, the first time I really got to see Rucker Park in person was when I saw Wilson Berry play. And that's when he was like Star St. John's. And he came up there and he was like one of the top players in the country. And he came and he did his thing along with the supporting cast. So that's like my.
But they had a dope team. You remember who was on that team with him? Go ahead, tell me.
No. I don't remember all the team.
Whoever you can remember. So let me do the roster for you. Mike Moses. Billy Goodwin.
My man, for Valentine.
Chris Mullen. That was the team that EV coached. Yvette coached that team. Chris Mullen. All these guys was on the team. Oh, wait. Richie Adams.
I remember
Gary Springer.
Okay.
Okay.
So you know what the memory.
Bob, what's your favorite memory? I think you just said the favorite memory.
Well, I'll supplement now because I was there when Joe Hammond scored 50. Now, here's the crazy part. When I say he scored 50, it seemed like nothing, right? Because I just told you Kevin Durant scored 66 points. But Joe Hammond had the record in Rucker Park for 77, right? 77, 76, 73. I worked at the scores table. So check it out. He scored 50 in the game against Doc. Now, I'm going to give Doc his due. I'm not going to front on Doc. I'm not going to disrespect Doc. Doc wasn't checking him one-on-one. But Doc was in the game. So if Doc wanted to stop him, he could have tried. Okay? So, but Joe Hammond hit 50 points in a half. He came in the third quarter.
Got 50. Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, there's a lot of moments, man. This guy's you never heard of, Alonzo Super Kid Jackson. One time hopped up and was going to get his shot blocked, threw it through his legs to George Berry, who had a short stint in the NBA, and George dunked it. And we was indoors at Fordham University, and everybody jumped out the stands. Like the whole stand, like someone had dropped a stink bomb in the stands. Everybody ran out the stands.
Wow.
Oh, my God. That is hysterical. Man.
Oh, man. So there's a ton of stories, man. So we are, the script is done for the Rucker film, and right now we're tidying it up and shopping, shopping. We're gonna probably pitch a couple of companies, as you know. Image Entertainment is coming out with Uncle Drew. They licensed footage from us to use in their trailer. The trailer hit 2 million the first day. After 4 days, it was at 8 million. I haven't checked, but they're going off of that, and the premises that they're in Rucker Park, they're spelling it wrong, and I'm trying to have a conversation with them, like, okay, we're gonna use the image, do it right. But there's room for our stories. There's a lot of inspiration that comes and will help people to see what they can become from nothing.
So, well, you know what? I do have a little more time to talk. Let's talk about Uncle Drew. Now, I saw the trailer to that, and I think it's going to be hilarious. And I didn't know Kyrie Irving could be an actor as well. I know Shaq is in it, and he's hysterical. Period. They used. How did you have any part to do with that movie?
No, not to do with the film. Like I said, they just licensed footage to be able to use in the trailer. There's authentic footage of Rucker Park in the trailer, and so they did that. But we haven't had any input or insight into the film.
Because it's funny. When I saw the trailer, it was funny, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." But that is that's great. It's a funny film, and as far as Ruckers, what are the plans for this year's tournament?
Well, currently we've had the permit in Rucker Park for up to the 52. This will be our 53rd year. And we still deal with the youth with the Each One Teach One program. I haven't double-checked, but I plan to meet with Cordell Marius to see how things are turning out. Hopefully they have an exciting roster, exciting schedule of different things going on. Like I said, I'm a filmmaker. I stay in touch with Each One Teach One and the program, so I haven't really been in the park as much. But we are excited to see what's going to occur. And hopefully the crowds will always still be the same. One of the things that I know, even when there's no games going on, I was out there and we had shot a small insert piece when we did something for Vibe TV. And there were kids coming up there from Amsterdam. So there was one kid, and he was here, he was dribbling, he was looking. He was trying to see if he was interrupting us, and I was like, no, you good, we're cut, we're not rolling. I said, you can go out and play. He was like, hold on, I want to sit down. He said, I just want to take it in. I'm here. I made it here. And, we can be a little jaded. You know what I'm saying? We roll to Rucker Park anytime. But people from all over different countries, they come and they are in awe. And I think there's a value in that we can, utilize as a speaking point, utilize as a place of motivation for young guys. And we didn't just play basketball. The guys that I know that I've trained with at the statistician table do the Knicks games. They've done it for over 35 years. And they were trained in Rucker Park. I don't know if you guys know who Dick Bavetta is. Dick Bavetta, Ronnie Nunn trained in Rucker Park. Those guys, Lee Jones, a bunch of these guys trained in that park, and that's what it was. It was a full training session for people on all levels. It wasn't just, we out there, somebody doing a move. Guys came to that park because they weren't letting guys really in the NBA, and they came there because this was the toughest competition. And then when Doc came, they were like, yo, and Doc was like, yo, this is tougher than college ball. I got him on camera saying it. He was like, this is tougher than college ball, because guys want to get their rep, they want to get seen. And that was kind of the beginning of kind of black ball players taking these spots that they had in the NBA. But before that, when Calvin Ramsey was playing, it was only like one or two black ball players.
You see, can I say something real quick? Can I say something real quick, Steve? And Bob, like I said, longtime friend and very knowledgeable in your own right on something that's dear to my heart. You talk about mentoring and teaching in sports and basketball, not just being about entertainment, but giving you, like I said, life skills, teaching you teamwork, discipline, teaching you about goal setting, just all the different things that people, like I said, don't really necessarily look at, but are just very important for you to be successful, throughout your life.
Right.
And
that's key. We need that.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's true. I mean, I echo what Herb said. It's just like, it's real. We need more of that. I think, so many people have become enamored with fame over substance. Fame, 15 seconds of fame. Really? Is your life worth just 15 seconds?
Nope.
Like, why not have security, financial security, understand how to learn a skill? That's why I love Each One Teach One. We teach these kids all these different things, different skills. I mean, I've expanded each one, teach one to not only, being somewhere, we have parks, we have about 5 different parks that we have tournaments in. But I've expanded each one, teach one in my own mind to the sense of we teach film. You know what I'm saying? We teach music. We teach young women how to do things that are actually profit making, but build empowerment in you, and that's what we need more of. We need these same guys who have tournaments, not to just have a basketball clinic. They need a program. They need programs in development. And that's where, our relationship with the Players Association and trying to really talk about how we can learn from the evolution of Rucker as a tournament, but learn, like, when you get 10,000 people together, you need to be telling them something that's going to empower them.
Come on now.
I definitely am feeling you on that. Here's the thing. We're talking about the legends that played in that tournament. What about the ones that never made it to the NBA and could have been better than some of the people we're talking about, like Kobe Bryant, like Connie Hawkins, some of them that passed away because of drug issues and stuff. But when you think about it, they were some of the most talented ball players in New York City.
Herb, who you gonna say?
Like I say, it's many people that could definitely be on that list. I mean, Bob, you know about the rosters and the actual names more than I do, but you have people that play in the park every day, every summer. Who could? I mean, like I said, we can go Riverton Park, you can go Lincoln Park, you can go in Rucker. I mean, 146th Street Park. Brothers that can ball, sisters too, that can ball. But like I said, because unfortunately they got sidetracked, that they kind of kept them from doing what they needed to do.
Yeah, and I think the league is a different place now. It's wild because the first time you saw Jason Williams, I'm talking about white Jason Williams with the straight hair, not Jason Williams from Duke. He went around his back. He went around his back and juked the guy, right? The first time you saw Allen Iverson do any of that and shake Jordan, guys have been doing that in Harlem for years. But that wasn't the style of play that they wanted their college players to have. So when you think of a lot of the guys that went to different schools that could have done well, I mean, I think of a guy named Arnold Duggar. Oh, my goodness. The dude had ill handles. He could have worked on his jump shot, but the handles was ridiculous. You think about Leroy Shaw. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's right.
It's a lot of guys that could have made it. Now, I think of guys that didn't get as much play and they should have, that like guys like Sam Worthing. Sam Worthing played for the Chicago Bulls, but he could have had many years. He had many years in the league. But there was just so many guys. Like right now, we're developing content, right? And we've developed content. Now, one of the other things that people don't know, and I told her this when I first interviewed her. I sat her down and interviewed her. But the girl Nancy Lieberman. You guys know who Nancy Lieberman is?
Yes.
Nancy grew up playing in Rucker Park. I mean, playing pickup.
Oh, man, I had no idea.
She came from Left Rack City to come play, and she tells this story all the time. And I tell people, I be like, when they first put you out there with the pros, I was mad, cause I was playing basketball. I was like, who's this little white girl? How she get to come out there and play? I want to play out there, right? And she got out there, and literally, she was out there for maybe 12 seconds. And she did a no-look, whoop, pass behind her back, like around her head. Not behind her back, behind the basic behind her back, but with the left hand behind her head. I was like, yo, what? I was like, and we all clapped, and I was like, that's it. She went to us. Ball united us. And I had to admit it. I was like, I was feeling a little prejudiced.
And that is funny. I remember her in college, and she was tremendous then. And I was like, now I'm hearing this that she played in the Ruckers. Yeah, I know she turned a lot of heads, man. I do not doubt that for 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah. She was a great player, and you know it's such a rich culture, and we've got a ton of stories that we've cultivated content and done the life rights research on. You know, a lot of people don't know who the first guy to get a championship ring that was discovered in Rucker Park. Hawthorne Wingo, 1973. Hawthorne Wingo.
A legend in Knicks history. Ain't that something? I'll tell you, for the time that he played, he got more recognition than most of the players in history, with the exception of Clyde Frazier and Earl Monroe.
Yeah.
Hawthorne Wingo. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, you know, and he never played a day of college basketball. He came down, played in the park. The Celtics bought his rights, and then the Knicks got him from the Celtics.
Oh, I know.
And, you know, he played 15 years over in Italy after that. He said basketball made him, and he grew up in a segregated town. When they first started desegregating the school, he was the one black kid in a school, and they called him all kinds of names, and he said, I just had to deal with it, you know. He said, but, you know, if it wasn't for basketball, who knows where I would be. You know, I think of guys like Bob Love. It's a lot, man. There's so many stories, man. So many stories.
That is interesting. That is interesting. What was I going to say? How long did it take you to do the documentary? How long to put it all together?
Well, this is the second documentary we've done. The first one we did was called The Real Rucker Park Legends. And since it was my first documentary, we really were like, okay, this is okay. You know, we were really trying to figure it out and learning during that process. But it came about that I was like, I'm not going to do another Rucker doc. Because, you know, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I can't just live in this realm that I grew up in. But it was coming up on 2015. And it was the 50th anniversary, so we couldn't let it go. We couldn't just not shoot and not capture guys coming back, you know, guys being a part of what was out there. It was you know, historic in a lot of ways, and we had all kinds of players come back. Tony Campbell was out there, Vin Baker was out there. I mean, I could run this. Nancy was out there. It was just crazy. It was a lot of time. The guys came back to take pictures. Steve Burton, these guys were out there. You know, all the guys. And we got to use the Harlem Hospital Pavilion, which is a beautiful space, and it was just something that was very, very wonderful. From the politicians that were involved, Adam Clayton Powell's, you know, legacy was out there, and you know, Charlie Rangel, all the different people that you know recognize and understand it. You know, Barbara Arnwine. We actually shot at the NBA All-Star game. It was that year. It was in New York. So we were in the Marriott getting interviews, you know, a ton of guys. It was you know, Fat Lever came through. Chris Broussard spoke for us. It was so many different people that wanted to tell the story. You know, Bobby Jones says probably one of the, you know, Bobby Jones played with the Sixers when they won their championship.
That's right. I remember.
You know, everybody was rooting for Doc. And Bobby Jones said, you know, the Rucker is what the NBA emulated its league from. And I'm like, okay, Bobby, you retired now. You can say that. But I was like, yo, you know, it was really, because remember in the beginning, the rules for the NBA, you couldn't dunk. There was no 3-point line. You know, and we grew with the league as the league grew, but we were still, you know, we were always dunking. It was always shake and bake. You know, shake and bake, streety. It was always shake and bake out there. It was always entertaining. It was, you know, it was who can outdo who. You gonna hit a jump shot? I'm gonna hit a jump shot. Charlie Scott was the first NBA player to be. The first black to be drafted to UNC to North Carolina. And so he was out there playing with Doc, and then it was Joe Hammond and Pee Wee Kirkland playing against them. You know what I'm saying? So who misses that? You know what I'm saying? Who can miss that? Like, that's something monumental.
Mm-hmm. So now you mentioned we talk about Doc. I had I've had on my show twice award-winning journalist Peter Vesey, and Peter Vesey, as you know, he coached teams for like 3-4 years, and Julius was on his teams, and they've actually under his coaching, they actually won championships, and their relationship today is still good. And the first time I had Peter on, which was I think 2-3 years ago, he talked about his experience as coach in the league and the experience that he had. I told him, I says, with the championships that you won, I said, you become a legend as a coach there. And he started to laugh. True. But, he was very successful.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, he first of all, Peter's like family. He basically was there from early on, and as you say, he coached Doc. And really became an integral part of the tournament. He reminisced about a time where they had only had 4 players and he had to play. He had to suit up and he had to throw an assist to Doc. And he said he'll never forget that he gave Dr. J an assist. You know, it was. He talked about that.
He said something about that. Yeah, I mean that you brought it up. He did bring that up. That he actually was the 5th man on the court, and he did talk about how he gave Julius an assist. I was cracking up. Yeah, But Peter knows it when it comes to basketball. He knows stuff. He knows the NBA frontwards and backwards. And I told him the last time he was on the show, I said, you know what, you're a little wise ass. In the columns
he's smart Alex.
And the way he ticked off a lot of players in the NBA, they didn't care for him, and he started cracking up. I said, "Yeah, I've been known to do that." I said, "But look, the people that you tick off, they're not even all stars, so don't worry about it, you know."
Right. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so when you've seen the best of them, the guys coming along now, you know, you're some great high school player, and you actually wind up making it to the NBA. You know, be grateful. There's a lot of guys many people don't get paid to do what they like, and they have to understand. You know, but see what I think most people really forget is that the entertainment of basketball is entertainment. Realistically, I ask people in your city, when your city wins a championship, what do you get? If you watch 82 games for 3 hours, you've given 250 hours of your life. And what do you get back?
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to really put these things in perspective on a regular basis and let people know, like, look, your entertainment is entertainment. Now, where's your power? If your power is that you can influence all these people, you need to get out there and influence people. You know, and we've come to a point in which we've gotten certain levels of success in entertainment, but we can't use it to pop bottles and make it rain. We got to figure out what's happening. You know what I'm saying? When the NBA has made more money off of Chris Webber than he did in his senior year, then, I mean, I'm not the NBA. The NCAA has made more money, you know, of Chris Webber than he did in his senior year, and guys got to steal their jersey because they don't got $75 to buy their own jersey. It's a little skewed, so it's still, you know, it's slavery of some proportion. When there's $2 billion TV contracts, you know, and I gave you a scholarship. That's nice. So if it's scholarships that we're wondering about, let's take all the eligible top black ball players and send them back to the HBCUs. And let the sponsorship dollar and all that come there. Let's let it gravitate there, right? And let these college coaches now get an increase in salary. I think there's a lot that needs to be said, and sports has a lot more power and leverage than is believed, and many people need to wake up to that fact.
Can I say something real quick, gentlemen? It's so funny you said that, Bob, because you're talking about two NBA Hall of Famers, and then when you talk about an HBCU, and yes, I went to HBCU myself, North Carolina Central University, the same school that Sam Jones went to play for the Boston Celtics, and also Ronald Monroe went to Winston-Salem State. And you talk about, like I said, it was coached by Big House Games, and actually John McClendon was actually at North Carolina Central. So you made a very, very strong statement just now about how it was back then and how it is now, and how you say the culture of the league, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of power. There's a lot of shifts. Far too often we accept things the way they are, and we haven't figured out how to galvanize or how to coordinate and use our leverage, use our power to be able to help people to adjust, and not be, always the consumer and less the producer.
Good point. One of the final questions, and this is regarding today's game. Today's game, the way it's played now, is so far different. The emphasis on the three-point shot, I'm not in favor of that, but that is what's going on now, not only in the NBA, but in college. And I feel that we need to get back to fundamental basketball, the art of passing, the ability to hit the open man, not one-on-one isolation game. How do you guys feel about that? Let me start with Herb. Go ahead, Herb.
I'm here, gentlemen. It's funny you say that because I'm an old school person, and when you talk about the fundamentals, talking about, and Bob mentioned it earlier, trying to seek the 15 seconds of fame. What we need to do is go when you have two-handed rebounds, you have bounce passes, you have basically guys filling the lanes on a fast break, where you can actually go to good old-fashioned fundamental basketball instead of trying to posterize somebody and let me go to ESPN highlights. It's not even about that.
Right.
It's about doing what you have to do to help your team win and have good sportsmanship in the process.
Yes. Bob, how do you feel?
Well, I tend to lean towards the old school. But my thinking is that things have to evolve. Right. And so I've always felt like, I used to play for the Gauchos. I played for each one, teach one, but I also played for the Gauchos. And I had a team of guys, and we played in the state league, and it was the developmental league. I played on the traveling teams, but I also played in the state league because I wanted to play every day. Now, we had a philosophy. When you get past half court, that's the whole court. Guys can only shoot three-pointers because they standing behind the three-point line, and you're standing underneath the three-point line playing defense.
Right.
Defense on the half court, as soon as you get over, we on you. And that's the indication of a far too lazy kind of team structure. See, defense is just as much part of the game as offense is. And guys though you can't score points from defense, you can get as much reward out of stopping guys, blocking their shots, stealing the ball. And you can dominate a team playing defense.
Yeah.
What happens, when you watch the Lakers lose to the Detroit Pistons 4 games to 1 in 5 games. Shaq pretty much retired. Phil retires. Shaq leaves the team. Like, they exploded that team. You know why? And I think, and I can't prove it, but I think the Detroit Pistons were playing 5-on-7. So when you play 5-on-7,
right?
Yeah, I think they were doing that in practices. I can't confirm it. I try to get guys to talk about it, but they were just moving the ball a lot faster. To a large degree, That's what Golden State has been doing. And now they're going to suffer because they almost got exposed last night by the Spurs, but they couldn't hang in there. Because everybody's always been saying this, all you got to do is throw a big man, throw it down to the big man. I said, hey, but look, 3 beat 2 any day of the year. So if you throw it to the big man, I give him fouls, I slow down. That's a slower process to get the same amount of points. So 3 beats 2 anytime. It's there. It's a weapon. First of all, everybody in the NBA should be able to shoot. Right?
Yeah,
You're
but that's not the case.
Hundreds of $1,000s to shoot.
That's true.
Huh?
But it's not the case.
If you can't shoot, right? Because that's what they've paid for guys to do certain things. They pay for guys to sit on the bench because you're like, why you got these guys? You're not playing, but okay, if somebody gets hurt, you'll play. That makes no sense. Guys don't even use their whole roster. I would be exhausting guys. Joe Hammond used to kill dudes because he ran the reservoir, right? He ran the New York City reservoir. He said when I felt like I was going around 2-3 times and he was going full speed. He would just outrun dudes. I can outplay you, outshoot you. I don't get tired. There's no condition. These guys lift weights for the look.
Yes. Yeah.
It's something to play 40 minutes.
It doesn't transcend into performance. That's for sure. One last question. Does Houston have what it takes to win it all?
I think so.
You do?
I think so. Yeah, I totally think so. I totally think so.
What about you, Herb?
I mean, I do. I mean, from what I've seen from the Rockets, I mean, they're clearly the best team in the NBA. I mean, James Harden can play well. If the center for the Rockets can play well, if Chris Paul can give them some good minutes, good contribution, I mean, I can see them. I mean, with the exception of maybe Golden State, and that's if Steph Curry comes back, I can still see the Rockets, if not beating the Warriors, at least taking them to a 6 or 7 game series.
Now, keep in mind, though, that defense is not usually on their priority list. That's thanks to their coach, Mike D'Antoni. Him and his 7-second offense and everything. Now, we all know that defense wins championships. So he has to instill defense because they've got an offense that at times can outperform Golden State. But it doesn't mean nothing if they can't stop anybody. And they're up against right now. They're up against a Timberwolves team. They've got some offensive weapons too. Now they should have lost the other night but the reason why they got away with it is because Karl Anthony Towns wasn't fed the ball enough. Now keep in mind, Towns wasn't putting himself in a position to get the ball because it doesn't make any sense that a 7-footer is playing out on the perimeter.
Correct.
And taking
I beg to differ though. I think they have improved greatly in defense. I think that's one of the things that helps them. And if you watch, I mean, I think I've seen a lot of analysis that talks about, because Chris Paul gives them a ton more defense. Chris Paul averages 3 steals. He's averaged 3 steals, I think, most of the season. So, but the fact is, one of the things I think they're going to have a hiccup in is Harden, and this is how I think they lost. They almost lost the game the other night. They were up 8, and Harden could have shot a 3, and he didn't shoot it. And he likes to play with guys. He's gotten too accustomed to play. He's a lot that he can do. He's a big guy who can move, handle the ball, get to the basket, take the contact, score. He can shoot. He can do it all. He can dribble. The guy is a quadruple threat. But when you get the biggest thing that's going to have is a problem, and I'm sure Chris Paul talked to him last night, is arrogance. When you are playing around, they only won that game by like 4 points. They were up by 8. They could have been up by 11, right? And he held up. But I was like, in the wrong times. Like, there's certain times you run the ball, like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook the other day, they almost lost that game because Russ was playing around. And he almost threw the ball away, and he went to the basket when you should have just held the ball. Like, where's your brain? Like, if you would have just held the ball, you went to the basket, you didn't get the foul call, you got chopped, but so what? Now that's what you get. So it's a lot of guys that don't understand the game. Like, you can get to a certain level of mastery, but wisdom is something that escapes men sometimes.
Yes. You know, and so it's funny you say that, Bob, and let me just interject if I may. And as you advance in the playoffs, the teams get better. And like I said, that's why you won the first round game, because you were better than that team in that round. Now you go to the second round, then you have teams that won their first round game, and they're better. So you're not going to be able to get away with, like you say, James Harden playing around, or Russell Westbrook playing around, because these teams have seen you on film, and they're better, and they're going to. I always say it's all about matchups. Whether you play in high school, college, or the NBA, it's all about matchups. And you got that right team on that right day that can expose you, even in a multi-game series.
Yeah. And those couple of those and ones, a couple steals, loose balls, and you be the team that's nationally ranked, and because they wasn't on their game and they wasn't taking you seriously. So it's going to be really exciting, man. This year's going to be exciting.
Yep.
Yep.
Right. Let me ask you both this one, and we'll call it a night. Is Cleveland in trouble in his first round against the Pacers?
Absolutely.
I mean, after the really, so you said that kind of quick there. Really?
Absolutely.
I think so too.
You can't win a championship without heart. You can't win a championship without heart.
Preach, sir. Preach.
And you gotta slap Larry Nance Jr. for him to get mad, and they don't give J.R. Smith the ball enough, because he'll shoot it every time. He'll shoot it every time. But that's it. That's because Rodney Hood, all them George Hill, all them dudes they thought was cute. Clarkson, nah, them dudes don't got no heart. Your heart is evident.
So that's pretty much the story there. I mean, after the butt kicking they took over the weekend in Game 1, I have to agree with both of you. Yeah, this is not going to work out, and and I think, in all honesty, Tyrone Lue, he needs to go, and and chances are LeBron will be gone too. So you're looking at a Cavalier team that'll go right back to where they were when before LeBron came there in the first place, and we're looking at last place finishes. So it is what it is. So on that note, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure having you on, especially you, Mr. Delancey. Bob, let everybody know where they could check out the documentary, Rucker 50, and also what are your next projects?
Well, we're working on finishing up and getting a deal on the Ruckers script, how everything happened. There's a lot of stories to be told in that. But you can pick up the hashtag Rucker 50 film on iTunes now. Just search hashtag Rucker 50. It should come up for you. And, it's a great collector's item. It's something you can kind of document the history. There's not a lot of talking about street ball history. There's not a lot of conversation around many of the guys and how things develop. Obviously, we want to always be able to remember Holcomb Rucker. He is a part of Black history. And we want to really give tribute and honor to the guys who came before us so that there'll be more kids who want to be heroes for more kids.
Okay, that is great. That is great. Once again, Bob, it was a pleasure having you on. You are welcome on Sports Tuesday anytime. Mr. Delancey, you're always welcome as usual. You've been on so many times. I'm gonna have to start charging you rent. Okay, so so just keep that in mind. Here I am sounding like a slumlord, but that's all right. But I thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Coming on, and we'll definitely talk down the road. So you guys take care, and God bless.
All right. God bless.
Same
Thank
to
you,
you.
Steve. Thank you, Sports Tuesday. All right.
All right, thank you. Source Nation, Bob McCullough, film director, his documentary Rucker 50. You can check it out on iTunes. And his organization, National Association of Each One Teach One, he's doing some great things there. And you heard about his upcoming projects. And always check out Mr. Delancey, sports writer for Black Sports Magazine. And he's always around sporting events. He also as a sports photographer as well, a good friend of mine. And it's always a pleasure to have him on the show. And he hasn't been on in a while, but this was good. All right. So, wow, it was deep. A lot of basketball talk, and it was good. That is it for me. And, keep following the NBA playoffs. As you heard both gentlemen, it's getting good in this first round. And Houston has what it takes to take it all. We will see. All right. So until next week, as I always say, be good and be safe. Take care, everybody.
Yo.